I shall reveal to you a mystery, and if you are perceptive, you will receive it not with your mind, but with your spirit. For the phrases I am about to convey to you have transformed my existence permanently. I stand before you not as a man of fortune, but as a man who uncovered the sacred principles of awareness, and I did not claim the lottery once. I did not claim it twice. I claimed it 8 times. Not by coincidence, not by toil, but by repeating a few hallowed phrases. Phrases that summoned the invisible into being. Phrases that resonated through the chambers of my mind and transformed themselves into prosperity. The external realm is merely a reflection of the internal dialogue. This is the fundamental reality I want you to grasp this evening. If you can embrace this truth, not intellectually, not academically, but deeply, you will unlock the same ability that I discovered. I do not come to you as a gambler. I come to you as a visionary, a creator. And so are you. The lottery is merely a metaphor. Currency is merely a consequence. The origin of prosperity, the source of abundance, the cause of repeated miracles lies not in the ticket or the figures or the probability, but in the conviction, yes, the bold conviction that you're already in possession of what you seek. When I inform you that I claimed the lottery 8 times by repeating certain phrases, I am telling you that I impressed upon my unconscious mind a reality that was not yet perceptible to the senses, but was more genuine in the world itself. What were those phrases? I will reveal them soon, but you must first comprehend the principle behind them, for without the principle, the phrases are meaningless. Without the comprehension, they are but echoes in emptiness. But with understanding, they become the voice of the divine speaking into existence your every longing. In the stillness of my chamber, night after night, I withdrew from the physical senses. I turned inward. I closed my eyes not to rest, but to awaken. I envisioned, I sensed, I spoke. And above all, I trusted. I trusted so completely in the reality of my longing that the outer world had no choice but to conform. It was not a matter of hoping. It was certainty. You see, the phrases I repeated were simple. It is done. I have won. That's it. It is done. I have won. But I did not merely utter them. I felt them. I infused them with a sensation of triumph, of elation, a profound tranquility. I repeated them until they became the only truth I recognized. I spoke them in the morning as I walked. I whispered them at night before slumber. I permitted no uncertainty, no contradiction, no outside perspective to interfere with the sacred sanctuary of my conviction. I recall the first occasion I won. I had not a single coin in my account. My pockets were bare, but my imagination was abundant. I closed my eyes and I perceived the check. I perceived the figures. I perceived my name. I heard the voice announce, "Congratulations." And I spoke the phrases again. It is done. I have won. Over and over, I resided in the state of the desire fulfilled. I sensed what it would feel like to walk into the establishment and claim my prize. I felt the weight of the elation in my chest. And then, as naturally as a seed transforms into a tree, it manifested. The numbers were announced, and they were mine. The world called it fortune. I called it principle. And I did it again. You see, your imagination is not fantasy. It is the creative energy of the divine within you. The world has taught you to disregard it, to dismiss it, to treat it as child's play. But I tell you, your imagination is more potent than all the armies of the world. It generates realities. It molds substance. And when you combine it with unwavering conviction, you become unstoppable. Each occasion I won, I went deeper into this knowing. I released the need to comprehend the how. The how belongs to the universe. The how is none of your concern. Your responsibility is to embrace the sensation of the desire fulfilled, to exist in the conclusion, to conduct yourself not as though something might occur, but as though it already has. I recall one evening after my 3rd triumph, a companion asked me, "Aren't you afraid it won't work next time?" And I smiled because I had already witnessed the next triumph of my imagination. I had already received the congratulations in my mind. I had already deposited the check in my vision. There was no apprehension because there was no separation. The thing I sought and the one seeking it were already unified. And so I declared again, it is done. I have won. Not as a request, not as a plea, but as a proclamation, a decree, a certainty. There is something sacred in repetition. For every time you repeat the truth, you drive it deeper into the unconscious. And it is the unconscious, my friend, that brings all things to pass. Not effort, not struggle, not reasoning, but the unconscious mind, impressed with feeling, saturated with belief, generates realities in ways your conscious mind cannot comprehend. Allow me to be clear. I did not pursue wealth. I did not plead for riches. I accepted abundance as my natural condition. I proclaimed it. I declared it. I sensed it. And it arrived not as a stranger, but as a devoted servant. You must learn to deny appearances. When the outer world presents you with scarcity, you must turn within and sense prosperity. When the world declares impossible, you must say it is done. This is the craft. This is the mystery. And this is how I claimed the lottery 8 times. There was a night, the 5th triumph. I nearly allowed doubt to enter. I observed the reports. I saw the statistics. I heard the rational voices declaring, no one triumphs this many times. And for a moment, the illusion of limitation tempted me. But I returned again to my phrases. I returned again to the inner sanctuary. I repeated with greater intensity, more love, more conviction. It is done. I have won. I voiced them while walking. I voiced them while bathing. I voiced them while reclining, until the illusion dissolved and only the truth remained. The very next week, the numbers aligned once again. It is not about the lottery. Do you hear me? It is about alignment. It is about faith. It is about unity with the desired state. The external event is merely a symbol of inner certainty. The lottery could have been anything. Well-being, affection, achievement. But the principle is identical. The method is identical. And the phrases are identical. It is done. I have won. These phrases carry potency because they suggest completion. Not wanting, not wishing, not waiting, but possessing. When you say it is done, you collapse the future into the present. You render the invisible visible. You declare to the universe, I no longer seek, I possess. And the universe, obedient to your every assumption, delivers it to you. When I won for 6th occasion, I did not even flinch. It felt natural, ordinary, as it should be, because I had experienced that triumph 1,000 times in my imagination. I had perceived it, felt, declared it. So when the check arrived, it was merely a reflection of something long since created in the invisible. Do not underestimate the simplicity of this. The mind favors complexity. It desires steps and strategies. But truth is always simple. The simplest truths hold the greatest power. These phrases, it is done, I have won, are not magical in themselves. They are magical because of the feeling you pour into them. They are magical because they represent the state of the desire fulfilled. You must declare them not from desperation, but from fulfillment. You must voice them not to make something occur, but because you know it already has. I recall before my 7th triumph, I sat quietly and asked myself, what would it feel like if I had already received it? Not what would I do, not what would I say, but what would I experience? That sensation, indescribable elation, gratitude, tranquility, certainty. That sensation is the secret ingredient, and I immersed myself in that feeling. I saturated my mind with it. I allowed it to permeate every phrase I spoke, and the phrases again were simple. It is done. I have won. The check arrived. The numbers corresponded, and the world called me fortunate again. But I was not fortunate. I was conscious. You are not here to hope. You are not here to wish. You are here to know. And to know you must feel. To feel, you must envision. And to envision, you must be still and turn inward. The 8th occasion I won, I wept, not because of the wealth, but because I realized I had become the very force I once sought. I have become the embodiment of the truth. I no longer required proof, for I was a proof. The outer world had become a reflection of my inner convictions. I no longer sought miracles. I became one. And so I speak to you now with certainty and affection. The principle is real. The power is within you. And these phrases, if spoken with conviction, with feeling, with faith, can transform your existence as a transformed mind. It is done. I have won. Declare them until your body believes. Voice them until your heart beats differently. Speak them until your mind no longer objects. Declare them until the world must yield before your assumption. You are not separate from what you desire. You are not distant from your miracle. It is already within you awaiting your recognition. And when you speak the truth, not just with your lips, but with your entire being, the world rearranges itself to make it visible. I do not ask you to trust me. I ask you to test it. Withdraw to your chamber. Secure the door. Retreat from a noise, and repeat these phrases as if they were the very breath of the divine. It is done. I have won. Utter them with elation, with stillness, with knowing. And then wait, not in anxiety, but in tranquility. Wait with the confidence of one who knows the seed must flourish. I claimed the lottery 8 times, not because I am exceptional, but because I understood the principle. You can do the same, not just with wealth, but with anything. The power is not outside you. The phrases are not external commands. They are inward awakenings. So now it is your opportunity. Declare it. It is done. I have won. And do not wait to observe the evidence. Become the evidence. Walk, breathe, move, and exist as one who has already received. This is the path. This is the mystery. This is the principle, and it is yours. When I say exist as one who has already received, I mean fully immerse yourself in that state. Not momentarily, not sporadically, but continuously. Allow it to be your dwelling place. Allow it to be your natural habitat. Every breath you take, allow it to be immersed in the reality of the desire fulfilled. Every glance, every step, every phrase you speak, allow it to emerge from the knowing that it is already yours. You must become so acquainted with the feeling of your desire being real that anything contrary to it begins to feel foreign, unnatural, out of place. Each of my 8 triumphs was not a result of chance, but a surrender. I surrendered not to fate, but to certainty. I ceased questioning, ceased hoping, ceased doubting. I stopped measuring duration. I simply knew. There is a potency in knowing, a magnetic pull that draws all things into harmony with your assumption. And when you stand firm in that knowing, you become immovable. You become the still point around which the universe must revolve. I have walked through markets, reciting the phrases silently in my mind. I have sat in vehicles at traffic stops, gazed forward, breath measured, repeating them again and again. It is done. I have won, not in haste, not in panic, but in the calm, reverent tone of a devoted one speaking truth into the altar of the unseen. And then the communication would arrive, or the announcement would appear on the screen, or the check would arrive. The external world obeyed the internal command. Understand this clearly. Every occasion I voiced those phrases, I was not attempting to persuade anyone else. I was not performing a ceremony for others to observe. I was not doing it for acknowledgement or validation. I was harmonizing my inner world, aligning my thoughts, saturating my unconscious with the reality of fulfillment. The repetition was not for the universe. It was for me. It was to construct a bridge of sensation so strong that no circumstance could break it. I want you to sense the sacredness of those phrases. I want you to sense the vibration they carry. Speak them gradually. Allow them to flow from your tongue like honey. It is done. I have won again. It is done. I have won. Allow the phrases to rise from your core, not your intellect. Allow them to carry the weight of truth, not longing. Declare them not because you require something, but because you've already received. The imagination must be claimed. The mind, if left unguarded, will default to facts, limitations, past experiences. But you are not here to reproduce the past. You are here to create. And creation begins with the unseen. Every one of my triumphs began not with a ticket, but with a vision, a sensation, an inner proclamation. The numbers were the reflection, not the cause. The account was the effect, not the origin. Yet most people exist in reverse. They wait to perceive before they believe. They wait for evidence before they claim it. But the principle demands that you reverse that sequence. You must claim it first. You must believe before perceiving. You must say, "It is done," even when your senses proclaim otherwise, especially then, because that is the moment of transformation. That is the crossing over. I have heard individuals ask, "But what if it doesn't function?" And I tell them it always functions. The question is not whether the principle operates. The question is whether you will persist in the feeling of the desire fulfilled long enough for it to materialize. Uncertainty interrupts the signal. Apprehension delays the manifestation, but unwavering faith accelerates it. I recall a particular triumph, perhaps the fourth. I had been experiencing some weariness, some discouragement, not because the principle faltered, but because I had permitted the opinions of others to penetrate my mind. No one triumphs this frequently. They declared, "It's rigged, it's arbitrary," and for a moment I forgot who I was. I permitted the shadow of uncertainty to linger, but then I returned again to the stillness. I secured the entrance. I breathed deeply, and I returned to phrases. "It is done. I have won." This occasion I voiced them, not with excitement, but with authority, with finality, with the kind of certainty that cannot be disputed, and something shifted. The atmosphere transformed. I felt the warmth return to my chest. I felt the stirring of truth in my spine, and I knew once again I had crossed the threshold. The wealth arrived days later. And so, my cherished friend, you must speak these phrases as one who knows, not as one who desires, not as one who yearns, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. It is done. I have won. Speak them as though the heavens themselves had confirmed it, because they have. The moment you embrace the state, the entire universe begins to conspire on your behalf. Pathways clear, individuals move, circumstances align, all because you dare to assume. This principle does not play favorites. It does not reward the fortunate and penalize the unfortunate. It responds to the one who feels, the one who assumes, the one who embodies a conclusion, as though it were the beginning. And this is what I did again and again and again. Each occasion I stood at the threshold of a new desire. I did not plead. I did not implore. I did not question. I simply entered the state. I clothed myself in it. I wore it like a second nature. I spoke the phrases, "It is done. I have won." And I allowed the sensation to rise in me like a tide. I allowed it to consume me. I allowed it to become me. And then the world responded, not with a whisper, but with thunder. I want you to recognize that your phrases are not empty. They are seeds. And every seed, when watered with feeling, when nurtured with belief, must yield fruit. It is a principle, a divine principle, immutable, eternal. I became a living testament to this principle, not once but 8 times. And still I know it is only the beginning. You can commence today. You don't require the perfect circumstances. You don't require the right ticket. You don't even require a reason. All you require is the willingness to turn within, to declare the phrases, to feel the truth of them, to persist. Close your eyes now just for a moment and envision. What would it feel like if your greatest longing had already come to fruition? What would it feel like if the wealth were already in your grasp? If the communication had already come? If the reality you long for were already yours? That feeling, that is your gateway. That is the entrance. Step into it with your phrases. Allow your phrases to be the key. It is done. I have won. And then walk as though it were real. Think as though it were real. Feel as though it were real. This is the great mystery. Not the phrases themselves, but the consciousness behind them. Not the sound, but the knowing. And when the knowing is firm, the world yields. It cannot help but yield. And I tell you now, not as one attempting to persuade, but as one who has witnessed the power firsthand. You are already what you seek. You are already the victor. You are already in possession of it. Allow your mind to align with what your spirit already knows. Allow your phrases to harmonize with what is already true in the unseen. Declare them again. It is done. I have won. Voice them with reverence, with elation, with finality. Allow nothing to shake you from it. Allow no appearance to distract you. Allow no voice to dissuade you. For the truth, when spoken with conviction, becomes manifest. It walks among us. It takes form, and the world must yield before it. Do you sense it now? That quiet certainty, that subtle shift in your chest, that warm knowing that what you desire is already yours. That is the power. That is the wonder. That is the divine within you declaring, yes, you have spoken and it is so. And so you continue. You exist. You speak. You move in this world not as one who waits, but as one who has already received. This is the path. This is the way. This is the voice of creation speaking through you. Allow that feeling to deepen. Allow it to spread through your body like sunlight pouring into a darkened chamber. Each occasion you return to the phrases, it is done. I have won. You are realigning with the source. You are stepping again into the center of the truth. And that truth does not waver, does not tire, does not forget. It is ever present, awaiting your recognition. There were periods when the outer world appeared exactly the same, periods when nothing seemed to shift, when the familiar thoughts attempted to return, whispering deceits of delay, of impossibility. But I had made a covenant with my imagination. I had embraced the vision of the conclusion. I could not betray it. So I remained devoted to the feeling. I maintained the inner atmosphere saturated with the reality I had chosen. I refused to be impressed by facts. Facts are aged. They are history. And I am not here to reproduce history. I am here to create destiny. I chose to impress my unconscious with a new truth. And that truth, when fully accepted, had no choice but to reflect itself in form. The world is clay. Imagination is the hand. Phrases are the sculptor's instrument. And belief is the fire that solidifies it into reality. So I ask you again, what are you repeating in your mind? What inner declarations are shaping your outer world? Are you rehearsing problems or proclaiming solutions? Are you replaying memories or recording prophecies? Because whatever you repeat becomes your rhythm, and your rhythm becomes your result. When I won for the second occasion, I realized something essential. I was no longer reacting to the world. I was directing it. My phrases were not descriptions. They were commands. They were divine orders issued from the throne of consciousness. It is done. I have won. Those phrases did not describe my present circumstances. They declare my chosen state in the world. Faithful as a mirror had to reflect it. The very fabric of reality yielded to accommodate my assumption, and it will do the same for you. You see, it's not about the specific lottery ticket. That is merely the symbol, the pathway. What you're truly doing is summoning abundance from the formless into form. You are aligning with the frequency of your fulfilled desire. When you dwell in that frequency long enough, when it becomes your permanent address, your enduring state of being, then manifestation becomes automatic, effortless, natural. That's what I discovered by the third occasion. I no longer needed to exert effort. I simply needed to rest in the knowing. I didn't force. I didn't chase. I rested. And in that rest, everything arrived. I tell you genuinely, nothing stands between you and your desire but your own inner conversation. Alter the conversation, and the entire world alters with it. I altered mine. I ceased asking will occur and began declaring it is done. I ceased wondering what if and began affirming I have won. Not I will, not I might. I have, I am, I do. These are the phrases of power. These are the vibrations that shape matter. There is no waiting in the mind of the one who knows. Time dissolves under the weight of assumption. The future folds into the present. When you assume the conclusion, truly assume it, time becomes your servant, not your master. This is why I could triumph again and again, because I had already journeyed to conclusion. And the conclusion is always birth, not death. Creation, not repetition. Victory, not delay. Even in the moments of stillness, when the world had not yet echoed my inner declaration, I knew it was already shifting. Like a seed beneath the soil, invisible but certain, I trusted that process. I did not disturb it with doubt. I nourished it with phrases. I cultivated it with feeling. And it blossomed in its perfect moment again and again until the concept of winning was no longer a surprise. It was simply the anticipated outcome, the natural outpouring of my inner state. And so I ask you now, will you persist? Will you continue speaking the phrases until they become more real to you than anything else? Will you dare to believe in the invisible? Will you honor your imagination above your senses? Will you select the reality of your choosing, not the one presented to you by circumstance, because your desire already exists? It is not being created. It is being received. But you must attune your inner frequency to receive it. Your phrases are the tuning instrument. They align your energy with the state you claim. This is why the repetition matters. This is why feeling matters. You are not declaring phrases to obtain something. You are declaring them to become something. To become the one who already possesses it. To embody the reality in full. And each occasion you do, the world reshapes itself around you. Sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but always faithfully. Because the world has no choice. It must reflect what you are, not what you want, not what you need, but what you are. So become the one who has already triumphed. Become the one for whom success is inevitable. Become the one for whom abundance is natural. You achieve this not by effort, but by assumption, by dwelling in the state, by repeating the truth until it's the only melody you hear. That's what I did. 8 times, 8 unfoldings of the same principle. Not because I was different, not because I was chosen, but because I chose to believe. I chose to persist. I chose to disregard appearances and exist from the conclusion. And that conclusion, so vivid, so genuine, so alive in my imagination, always arrived. It never faltered. It couldn't. Because once you embrace the feeling of the desire fulfilled and persist in it, it must externalize. It is principle, not my principle, not humanity's principle, divine principle, immutable, irrefutable. Even now, as I speak these phrases, I sense a familiar vibration in my chest, the sense of certainty, the peaceful power of knowing, that same feeling I sense before every triumph, that inner signal that declares, it is already done, it is already yours. Nothing more is required. Just be still, just believe, just speak the truth over and over until it becomes the only reality you acknowledge. It is done. I have won. Allow the phrases to take root. Allow them to resonate within you until they become part of your breath, part of your identity. Voice them in the morning before the world speaks to you. Voice them at night when the world is quiet and the veil is thin. Voice them in the face of contradiction and observe the contradiction dissolve. Because your imagination is sacred, your phrase is holy. Your assumption is potency. And when you combine them, you tap into the divine. You become the creator you were always destined to be. And nothing, no odds, no delay, no uncertainty can halt the one who knows. So now I leave you with this truth, not as a theory, but as a living testimony. I am not informing you what might transpire. I am informing you what has transpired. What must transpire when you embrace the feeling of your desire fulfilled and persist in it without wavering? I claimed the lottery not once, not twice, but 8 times, not by fortune, not by coincidence, but by principle. And that same principle is alive in you now. Allow the world to call it delusion. Allow others to laugh. But you will know. You will sense the truth stirring in your soul like fire, undeniable and eternal. You will rise above uncertainty. You will speak the phrases not as a plea, but as a decree, and the universe will comply as it always has, as it always must. So proceed now not to hope but to assume, not to wait but to become. Step into the conclusion boldly. Walk with the authority of one who already possesses the promise, and declare it again and again until the heavens and the earth echo back your truth. It is done. I have won, and so you shall.